Wilhelm and welcome to Online Smicha. Today we'll discuss halacha in this week's Parshah, Parshas Vayishlach. In the beginning of the Parshah, we read about the struggle that Yaakov had with the Malach, and the end of the story is that comes about the Isra of Gid HaNasha. Interesting that the Rabbi brings a beautiful discussion. Why is it that typically we find that we want to make a remez for a Hatzalah, for a saving from Mitzrayim or for any other event? We symbolize it by not eating, rather by eating. We eat matzah, Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. We eat in the sukkah because of Ananei Kavod, but we do celebrate it by doing a positive thing. Here's one of the few places where we find that we designate an event of the struggling of Yaakov with the Malach by not eating the Gid HaNasha. And the Rebbe explains in the Smicha why. But there's a couple of halacha points that are also discussed concerning the struggle of Yaakov and the Malach, and even how the struggle came about. Because of what? So it says, after Yaakov split up his family, sent them ahead, Vayikochem, Vayavirem es HaNachal, he took them and made them walk over the Nachal, Vayaver es HaShaloi, passed everything over, Vayivaser Yaakov levadoi, Yaakov was left himself, and then the pasuk says, Vayeavek ish imoy ad aleis hashachar, and the ish, which turned out to be the Malach, Sarish Aleisov, fought with him ad aleis hashachar. Avek Vayeavek is malashon avak, dust. It was such a wrestling match that it made a lot of avak. And the Ramban actually says another pshat. It's the Rabbeinu Bechaya says another pshat that we know that different letters are mischalfos. So Vayeavek is Vayechabek. Vayechabek is they struggled, they hugged each other, they wrestled each other. How did this come about? So the Gemara says two things. First of all, the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Lazar, Shendeshtayer al Pachim Ktanim. Yaakov Avinu, after sending his family ahead, he went back to he must have left over small jugs, Pachim Ktanim. He went to get it. Now, the Das Kanim Balei HaTosfos says that it's. How do we know this? Because it says, Levadoi, Vayivaser Yaakov Levadoi, Al Tikri Levadoi, Ela Lekadoi. He went back, he stayed behind for Kadoi, for his little pitcher, for a pitcher that he left behind. What was so important for him to keep a pitcher? Why not just forget about it? So the Rabbeinu Bechaya says, L'melamed, Rashi Rashi quotes from the Gemara, L'lamed, shetzadikim chaviv aleim emoinam yoser migufam. They're valuables. They're so concerned about everything they own, perhaps even more than their own guf. They put himself at risk. But a simple taish, the Rabbeinu Bechaya says, K'dei shalei staknu habanim aktanim. He Pashit was afraid of the young kinderlach that won't have what to drink, b'derech im lo yishtu. So therefore, he went on sakana to find the pachim ktanim. Either way, either Mamayim chavav aleim kagufam, or Pashit, he felt he needed the drinks for the kids. Vayavek ish imay, says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Mikan letalmid chacham shalayetze yechidi balayla. From here we know that this came about because Yaakov was left alone. A talmid chacham should not work by night, because look what happens. And Nachman al-Atzlani has the struggle with the Sari Shaleso. B'chlal we know, Kol adrachim b'cheskas sakana. Wherever and whenever you go, a derech has a cheskas sakana, and that's why we make a bracha, tfilas haderech. Specifically, certain times, you have to be careful. Leilam yetze on it, yikane sadam b'chitayv v'yetze b'chitayv. The Gemara says in Shachim, a person when he travels should try to travel, leave when it's still light, and enter the city when it's light. And there's a discussion. Why? Because when it's light, you're able to see any stumbling blocks in the way. There's no mazikim. But over here it says, Mikan l'talmid chacham shalayetze yechidi b'layla. When the Alter Rebbe brings this din in Shulchan Aruch, in Hilchos Shmiras Guf and Nefesh, Sivav, The Alter Rebbe brings a list of things that fall under the category of a person putting himself in danger. Part of the similarity to Asiyas Smicha, that you can't have a roof without a fence because it's dangerous. Shmira Saguf. You cannot walk on a dangerous bridge. You can't go close to a wall that's about to collapse. And the Alter Rebbe leaves in the parentheses, V'lo yetze yechidi b'layla. Not Talmud Chacham. V'lo yetze yechidi b'layla. A person should not go, no matter who you are, a person should not walk alone at nighttime. And he puts in the parentheses, and the Kuntas Achron, the Alter Rebbe discusses, because there's a steerus in the Gemaras, does it only apply on Wednesdays, does it only apply in certain days, on Wednesdays or Shabbos, or applies on all days? But the bottom line, the Alter Rebbe believes it, Lo yetze adam yechidi b'layla. And that's what the Ramah says in Yeridea Siman Kuf Tez Zayin. A person has to be careful not to go himself. What are the loopholes here? How is it possible for a person, yes, to travel at the evening time himself? So it's brought in different Sfarim that, first of all, the whole Chash is either the concept of Mazikim, which hopefully we believe the Mazikim are not around, the spiritual Mazikim anymore. Even to be able to see and to be able to be aware of any problems that might be when you travel, that's only if you're going to a dangerous place, or only if you're going to a place where there's no light. So in different Sifrei Achronim it says that if you're traveling at night, you're walking around at night, but it's not Rachik Min HaYishuv, and you know where you are, perhaps, even though the Gemara at one place says that somebody who walks at night alone is considered a shaita. Ezau shaita, hamahalach b'derech yichidi. But if it's not in a strange place to you, you're allowed to. In Sha'arim HaMetziyonim B'Halacha, he says that if you're going to a place where it's new to you, but it's still in a place where there's light, so there's not necessarily that great of a sakana. Others say that the Eshel Avram says that if you're traveling at night yourself, Taka, but there's still a lot of people on the street, that's not considered part of the sakana. But the more you look at the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, the Alter Rebbe seems to be very blunt. La yetze yechidi b'layla. So unless you have to, under concerns and Shema Mitzvah Layed Dvara, you have to be concerned of La yetze yechidi b'layla. Yashakayach, and please join us again next week.